Drop a like and do share. Leave your comments and do not forget to subscribe for more videos.
Hello and welcome to Edupedia World.
So have you seen these items? Yeah. So this is called aggregation. Items is an aggregation. So we are asking to repeat the products. Entity set called products. We want to repeat it. So what are you going to repeat it? So in the first cell, so always items will be in column list item because we have used column aggregation inside this table. So this will be repeated column list item. So we'll be taking cells. So inside these cells, we're gonna write. So inside these cells, each control will act as one cell. So first one is object identifier with title. And the next is text with description. So we are repeating name, description, and another text called release date. So in this release date, we are using formatter. So we don't have any formatter right now. So we'll put this only, but later on we'll change it. So it doesn't work, we'll use, as of now, it should take release date. And then rating. Then price. Then we are going to set buttons after this table. So, okay, now we have created the UI table. Now we're going to see Odata control. In this controller, we're going to set the model. So how do we going to set the model? On init function, we're going to set it. And on init, we're going to set this model. And then what we have to do, so we have taken 3 buttons. So on create, there is some event. So we're going to make use of this on create, on change, and on delete events. So we already have this here. So we're going to copy this entire thing and we're going to paste it. On change and on delete. So we're going to paste it here and we're going to save this. So what we have done in on init, we'll see that. First, we have taken a service URL, that is this, in a variable, and we're going to set this model to our view. So how we're going to do new sap.ui.model.odata model, and we are passing URL and we are saying it true. So this means synchronization. So whenever we do any change, it will be synced. Means if you create something, anything, the merge will be true. So I have taken that variable that equal to true. Simply have taken, but later on I'll tell you why you have taken a that variable. Because I'll be using this that in some operation. So simply. So I'll tell you. This as of now, I've taken this as into that dot give you dot set model. So I'm setting the model. So once I set this model, it should come here and see the entity set. So we're going to run that URL and see where we stand in that entity set. So this is a service URL. Yes. So inside this products. So products is nothing but entity set. So that's the reason products we have given it here. So we'll go there and we'll paste the products here and we're going to see, yes, there is an XML data. So this XML data, if I want to see in a JSON format, how I'm going to do? I have to pass an input parameter called format equal to JSON. So here it is. Clear? So now what we're going to do, we're going to run this application and see where we stand. Odata project. So I'm going to run this application, run on server. So once I do run on server, it will ask for Tomcat. I'll say finish. Once I say finish, it should ask for restart. Yes, I'm going to restart it. So it is going to take few seconds to restart. So after it restarts, we're gonna use this URL and I'm going to paste it in our browser. That is Google Chrome. To copy this, and I'm going to paste it here. So once I paste it here, and it is still loading, Odata example, create, and why it is loading, we will check. Press F12, and there are errors saying that this error is coming, not implemented. So when this type of error comes, 501 not implemented, right? So what we have to do is therefore not allowed access. So it means the access is not there. Our application couldn't access that particular URL because of some security reasons. That what is a research security reason is access control allow origin. Whenever we have this type of error, in Google Chrome, what we have to do is we have to open this application in web security false. So how are we going to do it? We have to close this window and make sure that there is no Google Chrome is working. Yeah, Google Chrome, you have to end this process. Once I end this process, yeah, there is no Chrome. And then I'm going to close this window. And then I'll go to the desktop. And what you have to do is I've created a separate Google Chrome. So you have to copy and paste the shortcut. And what you have to do is right click, go to properties. So we have to use disable web security. So that means you disable web security. So disable web security and say OK. Then once you say OK, so you can rename this as web security disability and just double click this and it will open and it will say C. You are using a sun support command line, disable web security, stability and security will suffer. That's okay. What we have to do now is localhost Odata project. We're gonna refresh this. This is one way of doing it. See, our data is coming up, right? So product, bread, whole grain, rating is not coming. We'll see that. And the price, we'll go there and we'll check why the rating is not coming. So product name, description, rating and price. So rating is not coming because rating data is not there. One description and another one is release date. So do we placed any release date here? Description, rating and price. So there is no release date. So we're gonna hide this for a moment. And I'm going to refresh this again. So once I refresh, see, rating had come. Yeah. So this is what. So the price can be USD. You can have USD there. If you want to have USD, you can have directly price USD. And you can save it. Once you save, you can run this project once again. See the price in USD. So it has taken a string. So how are we gonna do? Are we gonna do it? So what you have to do is you have to go to index.html. So we have to add that line, complex. Yeah, data binding complex. You have to add this line to your index.html. So we'll go to index.html and here I'm going to add that line. So once I add it, it starts, it says synchronized. So once it says synchronized, then it is synchronized. So I'm going to refresh this. Once I refresh, yeah, see, gone. So that is meant by complex binding. So that was normal binding, the price, but if you want to add this type of, means it is a complex binding, so you have to add that. And now we are using disability website security false, right? So it is one way of allowing some, we are not following any security, right? Security, there might be, if you open your Gmail or Hotmail or something, then it will be exposed to outside world and it's easy to hack your system and send viruses, etc. So the security you're breaching, right? So to avoid this, there is another way of handling this, proxy. So they say proxy. So whenever we say localhost, that time it will work. So we can make use of that proxy. How we're going to do is we have to go to web INF. So in web INF, we have web XML. We have to open that. And so open this. Then see here we have to use, you have a proxy servlet, right? So we're going to use another parameter here which can avoid proxy. So how we going to do it? So I've already done it. So I'm going to use that one over here. So I'll go to here, context param we have to use. So this is another one parameter. I'm going to use it here. Okay, the remote, and have to give my IP address. So we're gonna check first what is the URL we are using here. So where we're gonna see that we'll see in a network tab. So I'm going to use this org. So service.org, there is no port. Sounds good. And we're gonna save this. I'm going to save this, and now how we're going to change is this. You have to go to Odata controller now where we have placed it. So I'll copy this. I'm going to comment this. I'm going to write one more URL here to handling the proxy. So how it works is you have to use like this, to delete like this, and there should be a proxy slash, and I'm going to save this. And when you do this, you have to restart your localhost. What I have done it here is URL proxy HTTP so on. So it will ask for restart. You have to restart. So once you restart, it will say that it's synced. So once it is synchronized, you can go to your code and then refresh it. You don't have to refresh it now because it is Zipple's web security. So you have to close this, and then you're gonna close that Chrome browser if it is already there somewhere. Yeah, it is here. So I'm going to end that process. And once I restore, so it is still loading. So it is not checking that proxy then. So we'll see what error we're getting. Console. So it is saying, still it is saying HTTP. Right. Network. So I'm going to refresh this once again. So sometimes problem with this web is will not have the proper cache. Cache will be always a problem. So I'm going to see this is working, but I have to do localhost colon 080 slash proxy slash http slash, and I'm going to see it's working. It is not working. So I'm going to remove it. Okay. Okay, HTTP. I'm going to add this Odata project. So once I say Odata proxy, okay, so it says there is a different error now, internal error, servlet issue. So we're gonna see this. The proxy URL I'm gonna set. We'll see whether our code is reflected or not. That is the most important thing. So we'll go to sources, we'll go to Odata project, we're gonna see controller, and we're gonna see still our code is the same. So we're gonna see where we have changed this. Okay, that is confusion. So Odata example. So we're gonna see it in Odata controller, right? So in Odata controller, we have to change it. Save this, and we're gonna comment this. And it says republish, and then it's synced. And we're gonna go here, and we're gonna refresh. Once we refresh this, so our code will be updated, and then we can see the changes. It is proxy only, but there is some other error. It is not implemented or something. So we'll see what the error is. So it says the protocol HTTP get input stream. So proxy service.org.org. So we already mentioned this service.org, right? So we don't have to use that. So we're gonna refresh this, and we're gonna do this, because the problem what we have done is in this O controller I have included this service Odata.org, right? We don't have to do it. So we have to give the relative path. So the proxy word indicates this web.xml, this everything. It will take as a proxy. So we don't have to include that. Okay, so proxy slash v2 slash so and so we have to give. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to run this one more time. So I'm going to empty cache and hard reload. See, it's working. So it's working perfectly. So will metadata will check the URL. See, it says localhost 8080 slash Odata project slash proxy v2 so and so. So we don't have to worry about security also. If you want to run locally, so you can do it like this. So in this fashion, you can check. Now we have displayed successfully the product details. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create, update, and delete. Right? Before this, we have to check our services in Postman. So we have something called Postman. So it's always good to have this Postman ready and handy. So I'll be using this service here, and I'm going to paste our service products, and I'm going to say get operation and reload. So now here you have to understand, because in the previous session also we have seen Postman, so we will be seeing it once again here. So whenever we say get, so get is for getting all data, so list of data. So if you want to see it in the JSON format, you can see this JSON format, but you have to add dollar products mark dollar format equal to JSON send. See, so it in the JSON format, right? So next you want to create. So in place of creation, you have to use post. In place of any update, you have to use put. If you want to delete any entry, then you have to use delete. So these are the operations which is available for OData service. Create, update, delete. So what we do is, now we'll be creating a sample product, one more entry. So what we're going to do now is, we have to select post, and then we have to give the payload. So payload will be in JSON format. So we'll select JSON here, and it has to be the same, right? Then we're gonna post it. So that's what we have seen it in the previous session. So similarly, we'll be using it for the project. So on create, what we have done, we have got the model, what is there, and then we're gonna pass this payload ID, name, description, and price. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it. So this is nothing but a data, raw data, and I'm going to send it. So it says text plain XUTRF 8 is not supported, right? So we're gonna add one more header. So content type, text plain, char set equal to UTF 8. I'm going to send. Still says it's not supported. There is some serious problem. See, header information is not taken yet. Raw data, it's created. So we have, see, content type is not supported. So we'll add content type application slash JSON, and we're gonna send it once again. So it's created. So we'll see it here, and we're gonna refresh this. So first, before refresh, we're gonna see what data is there. So till LCD HTV. So we're gonna refresh this. Once we refresh, the new bread 106 whole grain is coming. So we're gonna delete this now. So how we gonna delete this? So we have to use this. First we'll modify and then we'll delete it. So 106, right? Products 106. So for update, we have to use put. So products 106. And then we're gonna update a bread 106 to 1067 and own return to 1067. And I'm going to put the same rating and I'm going to send it. It's no content created, but it is updated. So we're going to check in here by refreshing the content. Its bed is 106. So I'm going to refresh this. So once I refresh, 1067 whole grain, 400 and everything. Now I'm going to delete this. So you delete this and then I'm going to send it. So it says some error. So we don't have to pass any data to this. Then we say 106 delete. Simply you don't have to pass anything. So delete, it should be deleted. So it says, see, due to specific have content, for delete method is not possible to implement it. I'm going to say delete. So once you say delete, delete it. So we have to remove this URL parameters and header, and it says no content. That means it's successfully processed the request, but there is no content to display. So we're going to refresh this. So we have deleted it. Similarly, what we have done in Postman, we're going to do it in UI5 application. So for doing those operations, what we have done is we have taken 3 buttons here: create, another one is change, and another one is delete. So on press of these 3, we're going to make use of that operation. So in this on create, what I'm trying to do is to create. So I'm going to create this data, and to this data should be in a JSON format, because in JavaScript we can't write XML. We have to write XML. We can write XML, but we have to do a lot of coding for that. So to avoid those type of coding and to clearly visible, we can read it easily. The JavaScript JSON format, we can read it easily. So that's the reason we have taken this. And the model is this dot get view dot get model. So we are getting the model of this view, and then to that we are going to pass data. So how we're going to do it is Odata dot create. That means creates the new entry. So which entity set? This is the entity set. And then which data? This is the data we're going to pass. And there is no merge. And then we're going to do a response. So first one is success, another one is failure. Right? If this creates, then this method is big. These two are callback functions. So in this callback functions, if you want to use this variable, means this dot get view, right? That time it doesn't work. I'll show you why. So this means this will be for this particular function. This is a callback function. So when you say this inside this, it will give you this function properties, not the view. So in general, what our this is a controller. Controller dot get view means gives you the view of this controller. Here in this means this function, not this controller. So to use that controller inside this callback function, that time you have to take a variable called that. Okay, so this that and that this will conflict. So that's the reason this controller, this one, we are going to assign it and we're gonna read inside this callback function. Make sure you do it in this way. Usually people will get confused and they'll have so many questions on that. So there are 5 to 6 posts because of this in SCN. So I know I might have heard of SCN. So SAP has a forum called SCN where you can post your questions and someone will reply if you face any difficulties. So this is how we're going to write it for the create. So the create function. So now we're going to see how this create is happening. So refresh this and then I'm going to say create. So once I say create, so the table got refreshed and see bread 106, whole grain 106 has been created. Right now, how it is going is first it will get the model. So now we'll create so here it is first getting the model and then data, then it is doing. Now we'll change on change event. So how the on change is working. So what we have done it for the on changes, we have written a code. Similarly, the same thing, model we are getting it and we are passing the data which need to be modified. It's 106 modified and whole grain bread is modified. Rating is the same, 4000. We're going to change and prices, we have added one more, 35. And we're going to update. So for update, it is odata.update. For create, it is odata.create. Right? So in this, the entity set will be changed because we are going to update the particular entity. Right? So that is per entity is 106. We have just created and I'm going to say, we're going to check the 106. What is 106? Okay, there's a 106 and we're going to use this parameter dollar format. Yeah, this is old grade 106. This is a 106 ID. So we're going to change this now. So see, change, and there's a success method and failure method. Okay, we got O model. So what is O model now? O, yeah, O model is our Odata. Okay, so you can check the service URL as well. See, proxy sensor, and the next is, after getting the data, we're gonna update O model dot update. Will update. So success, response is success. So in this, we don't have anything. The content will be created. Now the model is refreshed automatically. 4,253. Now similarly, we're gonna have delete operation. So what we're gonna write it for the delete? Similarly, there is O model. We are getting this is for the change. This is for the delete. So O model get view, and O model dot remove will remove this particular entry. And then response on success method, on failure method, right? And then you're gonna update the model. So I'm going to say delete. So delete will give you the updated one. See, the entry has been deleted. Clear? So make sense? So now you should be familiar by end of this session. Need to create OData, how to make use of this OData, and how to set the proxy, and how to do a create, update, delete operation, and get. So this you have to be very much familiar. There is, on the top of it, there is one more thing called batch operation. Suppose if you want to update all at once, then you don't have any present scenario, but you can make use of this code which is already available here. See, entity set, you have to give first we have to understand why we have to use batch operation. So your OData developer will give you a batch URL saying that suppose there are 10 fields, you want to update 10 fields at once. So that time you will be using this batch operation. So that time you have to make use of this O model, get the model, give the path of that model, and what data you want to send it to the backend, that you have to give, and you have to use path. If you want to post, update, whatever you want to do the operation, then you can do, and you have to push it in an array. And then when you say add batch change operation, that time you will be updating this batch. Then you have to say submit batch. So this is an on success method, and another one is on failure method. So on success, on failure. So you can handle it in these controls. So these functions are nothing but callback functions. So once this URL is executed, that time this callback function will be called. If it is successful, then success callback. If it is failure, then failed callback. So now we're going to refresh this page. Now what we have done so far is we have taken a model, OData model, and we have directly binded it in to the view. That's the reason whenever we create, update, delete, this model has been updated. Now what we do is we'll be using a custom JSON. That time how we gonna do it? So we'll go here. So what we have done is have directly set the model to the view. Now I'm not going to do that. I'm going to run products here only, and I'm going to bind it there. So I'm not going to set this, and I'm going to use this O model and create like this. To say. So what I'm trying to do is O model read. That is my get operation. So I'm passing the entity set true. In the response, what I'm trying to do is I'm taking a custom JSON. So to this JSON, I'm setting data as products. So in this response, I'll get the data. So response.results will give the list of array. I'm going to set it here. So that's the reason I've used that here. So here, when you say this dot get view, will not get. That time you have to use a variable like this, that, so that you can get the controller instance. Then the product ID, I'm setting the model like this. I'm going to save this and I'm going to refresh. So once I refresh, see, data has come. So when I say F12, you can see the code changed. It is not changed. I'm going to refresh it once again. Now it is changed. The custom model been assigned to this table, right? So this is the other way of doing setting the model. So we can set the model like this also. So for what we have seen is Odata model, we have been assigned to this. So URL, O model, we are doing read operation. So inside this read operation, we are doing all this. And you can see the API reference also. So once see the SDK, right, we have to go to the API reference. So I'm going to minimize everything. I'm going to start with SAPUI5 model Odata model. This will tell the story of Odata. This is how you create the constructor. So get the instance of that, and to this constructor you are passing the values, methods, etc. So you can refresh the model also, and you can read it, you can remove, you can refresh the security token. This refresh security token will be useful when you do any update. Okay, whenever you do any update, that time refresh security token. So suppose if you want to update photos, videos, something, that time you have to refresh the security token every time, because that particular control there is something, so you can't have everything at once, so you have to refresh security token for security reasons. Okay, so what this security token refresh is, it will create XCSRF token, that is security token. It will be attached to your request and it will be sending it to the backend. So this is all about Odata. So Odata will be useful to communicate with your UI and the backend system. So backend system can be ERP, can be SQL Server, and any SQL Server. So before this Odata, you have to think about what is SOAP. So SOAP was the standards which was maintained before. Now they have replaced with Odata services now. So Odata services are nothing but REST-based services. So a lot of web services can have this with queries. So like your SQL query, whatever you write it in the SQL database, you can write the same queries here, but using the dollar parameter. So dollar format equal to JSON, like that. So see, dollar format equal to JSON. So like that you can have. So you have to ask yourself like why you have to choose Odata, because whole world is going behind Odata right now, because I have seen so many services, like some thousands of services have been developed in Odata. They are not using any other SOAP related services, but they have used REST based services now. So that is RESTful, so it will not give you a much of hassle. So it is as seamlessly you can execute this OData service and use it in your application. So this OData services can be used for iPhone developers, Android developers, Windows Phone developers, and any application developer will be using this. So basically, when you connect from web UI to the backend, so in between the gateway will be there. So that gateway service is web service. So in our SAP UI5, we'll be using NetWare Gateway. So how to access that NetWare Gateway you have seen. So our NetWare Gateway developer will develop you a service and he'll give it to you. So this is how it works. And this standard is becoming more important these days, because a lot of things are going on basis of this OData, because it's read as human, because it is available in XML as well as JSON format. The difference you have seen it. The content in JSON will be less, the content in XML will be more. So human will read the content which is less and which is readable. That is in JSON format, which is on the screen right now. And it is stateless service. So you can have see directly the service is run. So you'll know how much time it is going to take and how much waiting it was there. Request sent 0.24 seconds. And then you can use it in any of the format. So we'll go through this once again. So OData model. So there are basically three different types of models. One is JSON model, XML model, and OData model. So when it comes to OData model can create service, delete service, update service, and read service. So when it comes to JSON and XML, there are only mock datas. So only if it is available inside your system, you want to access locally, then you use JSON and XML. If you want any remote location, you want to pull data from, then there should be a service called OData service. That is OData model. So it will request and will give you the results. So next, so how do you write the OData model? Just as a recap. So model new sap.ui.model.odata.odata model, and then you give your data URL where your data is coming from, service, and then if you want to use JSON, you have to choose JSON true, and you can give the username and password. If you are encrypted with username and password, that time it will be triggered. And then you can assign the model to the view. This is how you're gonna do it. The binding is normally binding. That's how we have done it for the JSON model, XML model. Similar. Thank you. This is all about OData services. So by the end of the day, you can you can consume OData service in your UI5 application, and you can do CRUD operations seamlessly. You can execute OData service, and if you have any problem with the security, then you know how to disable the security and work locally. Right? Thank you so much, and we'll see few more concepts in the next session. Thank you.